Welcome to the Golden Hour Theory. I'm Kirsty, and this is your space for grounded, best friend style conversations about wellness, self radiance, and creating rhythms of success that actually fit your real life. Picture us sitting down together, the warmth of the sun on our skin, lattes in hand, having a gentle chat with honest reflections and thoughtful shifts that feel safe, real, and attainable. Because your golden hour isn't just a moment in time. It's a way of seeing, a way of choosing, and a way of living. It's something that can only start from within, and I can't wait to share in this journey with you. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me on the Golden Hour Theory. I am recording right now from my car, so I don't have my microphone. I hope that this audio is of okay quality, but I did a bit of healing work this morning, and then I hopped in the car to go run and do some errands, and I just got an intuitive ping to just record this episode, and I I didn't wanna wait till I got home because I knew I would be distracted by outside things once I started my errands, so I'm literally in the parking lot of Target recording this. But I just really wanted to let it flow out of me, and I don't have notes. Usually when I record my other episodes, I have a couple just kinda, like, key highlights and notes that I wanna make sure I hit, but this is coming all from the heart and the mind today, so I hope that it makes sense as it's spilling out of me. So, today's topic is what I learned about life from loss. And I mentioned this in one of my previous episodes, and those close to me know I lost my mother in 2019, and I lost her suddenly. It wasn't like she was sick, it just happened suddenly, and I was kind of the person at the forefront of it. I haven't opened up to too many people about it and what happened, and I think the details likely are neither here nor there, or they're just, maybe for another episode, but my whole point in the episode was kind of the journey that losing someone so close to you kind of spirals you into. And I want to preface this first in that I think a lot of internal journey comes from a really, really strong sense of self awareness. And I think it's so easy for a lot of us to get caught up in the everyday life and the ideal version of the person that we want to become. And it's kind of like a catch 22 because I've talked about in previous episodes that to become the person that you wanna be, you kinda have to, get a little bit delulu and become that person and believe you're that person and act like that person. But I also think that the root of that is having a self-awareness of who you actually are in your current state and being so raw and real with that person and being just brutally honest with yourself and knowing that all of this work and all of that awareness you can do in your head, and so nobody's there to judge you. You're not I think that's what's so beautiful about doing healing work alone, and I think that there's value in doing it with others as well, as in, like, life coaches and therapists and all that. Absolutely love that world, but at the same time, I think so, so much of the true healing work comes from just doing it with yourself inside your mind, and I think when you talk to others, maybe you put on some sort of mask or cover, even if you're talking to a therapist, there's at least some sort of you that maybe feels shame and you don't necessarily maybe you sugarcoat just slightly some things or you justify some things or you make things seem in a way where deep down you know it's not true. Whereas when you heal with yourself, if you set your ego aside and you literally are just, like I said, so brutally honest and raw with yourself and not unkind to yourself, but just so real with the truth of what your current situation is, what your beliefs about yourself are, and the reasons why you are the way you are, the reasons why you believe what you believe. If you're so real and raw with that, that self awareness is so, so key to just healing so many parts of you, and I found recently that the more you heal, the more layers you peel back, and the more you can heal deeper layers and deeper wounds, but I think that's kind of the foundation of that self-healing, and so when I lost my mother, I it almost was like the veil was lifted, and my mom was such a huge, huge part of me. She and I were extremely close ever since I was young. We did so many things together. She was just such an integral part of my life, but as I got older, I think you just don't realize, like, that she is you, or I guess I didn't realize that she was me, and I was her, and we were just part of each other in so many ways. I'm sure she realized that, but I didn't. And so, as I was going through, like, college and high school and grad school and all of that, I was kinda just, you know, like, I was just living my own life, being so independent and doing my own thing that you start to kinda, like, detach from that emotional attachment, and you don't really realize how deeply rooted it is in you. And it took me losing her to realize that how much she was part of me, and it to this day, I feel like part of me died when she passed because it did, like, she was just such a big, big part of me, and I think the people close to me can agree that if they knew her, that they see a lot of, her and me and her, so all that to say is that when she passed, I think, as I said, this veil was kind of both I felt like this kind of, like, spiritual veil was both thrown over my head and lifted off. I remember around that time it was such a lonely journey, to go through that, and, I don't wanna say that, like, I was completely alone and couldn't deal with this by myself, but I was surrounded by my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, my dad, even though my parents were divorced, he flew out, my brother flew out, my mom's whole family flew out, so I definitely had a lot of support from everyone around me, but when I mentioned that it was a lonely journey, I think any loss or any healing is just because it's an internal journey and the only person who's gonna heal that part of you is you, that you kind of have to be alone and go through it alone with yourself in a way. Because I think if you outsource that healing to other people to do it for you, then you're not truly going to actually heal. So it was such a crazy, lonely journey for me in that sense that I had to go through it internally alone to be able to be okay with it. I don't think you ever heal from something like that. You just don't, it never heals. And it doesn't get better. But what I'm trying to say is in that journey alone, in that lonely journey, it kind of opened up so much for me. I remember in that same week that I found out what happened, that same month, for weeks after or months after, I don't even know. It was such a long time where I just felt like I was moving through like a hazy atmospheric jello. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, I was, like, out of my body going through the motions, but not even going through the motions because I was just very aware, and I started to see other people in so many different ways in a sense of compassion, of, everyone's just out here trying to do their best, and I would say before then, and I still have a little remnant of this, but, you tend to kind of try to see the worst in people initially before you try to see the best in them. I think that's kinda just how our society made itself to be. Um, you kind of just are looking for negative before you look for positive, but the whole point of me saying that is that as I was moving through this, like, hazy jello phase, I started seeing people that way. You see people like, for example, they could have just found out that they lost a loved one too, or they just could have found out that they didn't get the job that they were hoping for, or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe they just found out that their wife is pregnant, or maybe after this, they're on their way to go see their grandmother who just battled cancer or something, you kind of just start to see people in a different light. And again, I'm not like I said, I'm not perfect to this, I'm still working on it, but I think going through that loss showed me a different side of the world and kind of subdued me, I guess, in a way, and made me start to take different perspectives on things. And something that I did learn from my mother growing up was perspective, and that gift of having perspective is so powerful, and I don't think enough of us have that, is before you jump to reactions. Again, I'm very reactionary, so I'm not immune to this. But if you can try to sit with yourself a second before you jump to reactions and try to see the perspective from, if you have an interaction with another person, see where they're coming from, or before you make a decision, try to look at it from multiple perspectives or multiple ways. I think that's such a powerful, powerful practice that you can continue to remind yourself of and move through life with, is just seeing yourself from different perspectives and seeing other people from different perspectives. And that goes with that self awareness piece. So, that whole era of my life, I was kind of going through that. And like I said, it sort of subdued me a little bit to then really succumbing to perspective of everything. And it started to kind of affect a lot of areas of my life. So, shortly after my mom passed, I was in a job at the time that I like pretty much hated. I knew the corporate life wasn't for me. But I think at the time I was kind of just like, well, it's the company. I don't like this company. So I changed jobs to a different company and I felt like it was right at the time. So it was a completely new environment. This was literally like after I had lost my mom, like probably like 2 or 3 months after I lost my mom. But it kind of catapulted me. I think the loss catapulted me of being like, I'm not happy with this company. Life is too short. I wanna do what makes me happy. I'm gonna quit. So I was on bereavement leave from my that current job at the time. I think I got somewhere it was like 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know. Time was such a blur when all of that happened. But I got a decent amount of time to, kind of settle the affairs and handle everything that I needed to before I returned to work. Came back to work, different perspective, different viewpoint, and I was like, this place is not for me. And like I can't accept less than what I know I'm worth. Life is so effing short. I'm looking for a different job. I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And I mentioned this before. I mention this all the time, but that quote, no matter where you go, there you are, that showed up for me again in the new company that I hopped to, and same thing, I was like, "I'm not gonna stick through this again, I'm going to find something else," and that's when I realized, I was like, "This isn't for me," and I've known this all along. I, then jumped into a completely different career, as you guys know, so I mentioned all of this, I believe, in one of my first episodes. Completely pivoted, around that time was COVID, so it sort of, like, forced me into that, and I wanna mention too is, like, I jumped companies, then I jumped full industry career fields. I went from corporate marketing to then like sales and interior design. And then I threw all of that away to then start a business. So all of this happened within a span of about, 5 to 6 years, give or take. Um, which seems like a long time, but I think as we get older, the years fly so quickly. And so the whole thread between all of this and everything that this gave me perspective on was not accepting what doesn't serve me and not accepting it immediately, and not just like sitting with it and being like, okay, well, it's fine for now, and then I'll just wait for the right time, and when the time comes, then I'll do this. And I did a little bit of that when I was trying to take my business full time. So don't get me wrong, I definitely teetered on that, and a lot of it has to do too with you have to look at the reality of things of stability, like, financially and everything else that kinda comes along with that, your actual, like, adult responsibilities. But in the grand scheme of things, the timeline for me tolerating what wasn't worthwhile for me was short, and that was intentional because of the loss, I think. It's life is short, life goes by so quickly. Don't accept anything that you know isn't right for you. Again, like, looking at your responsibilities and making sure that you're not completely dropping yourself off of a cliff, but at the same time moving quickly towards what you know is right for you. I feel like so many of us are just complacent with, like, good enough. It's good enough. It's fine. It's okay. I want this other thing, but it's okay that in my situation and I should be, we start to kind of gaslight ourselves into thinking like it should be okay. Like I should be okay. I should be so grateful. And then you kind of just, I mean, at the end of the day, the only person that's unhappy is you. And like I said, life is short, and how sad to get to the end of your life and say like, I so wish that I did that thing because I wonder what would have happened. I was listening to a podcast from a life coach that I absolutely adore. I'm sure my friends are probably sick of hearing me talk about her, Marley Rose Harris. She has the Money Mindset Manifestation podcast. She is incredible. But she mentioned a story in a podcast that I had listened to. I think it was one of her older podcasts. And she said, imagine if LeBron James went to law school and became a lawyer and was this extremely successful lawyer. He was so good at what he did because he's him and he just has this magnetic energy. He was making lots of money. His clientele list was getting bigger and stronger and more prominent. But imagine if he was like, I don't know, there's just something about like I'm good at law and it's fine. Like law is fine. Like I kind of enjoy it, but like I really love basketball. And like he would, every day after work, just go to the gym, shoot a couple hoops, and it just kind of was like his, like, release, like, "I love doing this," "This is kind of just, like, my passion, it's something that I'm, like, natural at." And then he goes back to work as being a lawyer every single day. It's like, imagine if he had never followed that passion that lights him up, the thing that he kept returning to, the thing that just was, like, natural and effortless for him, the thing that was just him, like, purely him to his core. Imagine if he had never followed that, you know? So think about that in terms of you, and I'm sure some of you are like, "Well, I'm not a celebrity star. I'm not this and not that," but, like, anything that you are passionate about, that's your purpose. No matter how big or small it is in your mind, somebody out there needs you. So many people out there need you. So many people out there need your passion. So many people needed LeBron. Like some people see him as entertainment, some people see him as inspiration. He inspired children that maybe thought, or people that maybe thought that they could never be something, that their talents could never get them anywhere. That he showed a lot of people a lot of different things on so many different levels. And I think you can say that about a lot of people, not just celebrities, but just people in your life, people in the world. You're here for a reason, and people need you to do the thing that you are here to do, the thing that you're passionate about. I think it's so easy for a lot of us, myself included, to be like, well, nobody cares about this thing. Nobody's going to care about it as much as I do, or this is such an insignificant thing. Like, nobody would pay attention to that or be excited about it or pay for that. Like, no, like it's just so small, and we get all ourselves caught up in all these doubts, and we forget that the world needed us. And we don't want to wait until we're gone to have the world realize that they needed us. Just like the way that I had to wait for my mom to pass to realize how much of a part of me she was. And I would hate that for anybody else? And I've made peace with the fact that I think that she came here and did everything that she needed to do. And a lot of the parts of what she needed to do were for me, maybe in a way, selfishly. Like she was such an amazing woman, an amazing mother. And I think that was her part in the world, was to come here and she was such a light to everybody. And I feel like everybody says that about people that they've lost, but the people that know her, she was like literally a bright light. Like she had so much energy. We called her the Energizer Bunny. Like endless energy, this woman. I don't even know how she did it. And endless energy meaning like she was like 10 out of 10, like 24/7, always happy, always funny, always playing around. Like, obviously, she had her down times and all of that, but her whole aura was just so energetic and magnetic and fun to be around. Um, and that was what she brought to the world. So my point is that you what you're bringing to this world, what your passion is, what you want to do, what you're supposed to be here doing, you're meant to do that for you and for so many other people, even one other person. I think we can all think about the times that we've been an impact for at least one person in our life, big or small. I know we all have, because I think at the core, as humans, we're natural givers and we want to give and receive naturally. So I know that you can think of at least one person. So imagine how many more people that you can impact, people that you don't even know. There are so many people in the world, people you don't even know. And maybe you don't even know you're impacting them, but they see you and they get inspired by you. They find your work or your business or your passion or whatever you're doing, and they are inspired, healed, lit up. So, I think my point in all of this is the perspective, the realization, the awareness, the healing. But loss showed me how to heal myself. That internal journey, I took a really, really hard look at myself, and I'm talking like no nothing held back. I feel like for the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, I've been so raw and aware of every single aspect of myself, the aspects that I love, the aspects that I hate. And I don't wanna use the word hate because I think I love those parts of myself too because that's me. And much of a perfectionist as I am, we're never perfect, we're not gonna be perfect, and those parts of us, they are perfect. They're perfect in a way that it's uniquely us, and the mix of characteristics that make up us, it's okay. It's okay to be us, and it's okay to be you. It's okay to be you not changing yourself for other people, and I know that kinda contradicts a little bit, I guess, in a way of what I said about giving to others, but I think when you give to yourself first and you accept yourself in exactly who you are, the parts that you love, the parts that you don't love, maybe the parts that you're ashamed about, when you accept all of those parts as, like, what makes you so uniquely you, then I think you're able to show up for other people in a much more genuine way, and you're able to give in a much more genuine way, and you're not gonna be for everybody. Not every person is gonna be for everybody just in the same way that, like, you don't love every person out there and every personality out there, is the same way, like, not every other person is gonna love you because we're all so different. But you find your people, that's why there's so many of us in this world, that's why there's so many of us with different personalities, so many of us with different passions, different interests, because we're all meant to be there for different parts of us are meant to be there for different parts of people. I think it's beautiful that we're all so different and that we all, like, are just some of us, don't align with others, and that's okay because those others align with others that, it's just kind of like this ripple, like, we're all here for each other in a different way. So when you're completely and utterly yourself, you're gonna be that for somebody else, but in order to be that person, you need to really be honest with yourself and heal every single one of those layers. And I'm gonna go a little bit woo-woo, I think, here for a second. But everything that is mirrored back to you in your external reality is literally a mirror of what's inside of you. And I think you don't realize that until you start to notice patterns in your external reality. And then you start to connect the dots that those patterns are also the same patterns that you believe about yourself. So for example, I'm still healing through this, but I'm such a perfectionist that I think when I especially my business, and I'm in a creative design business, when I put things out into the world, not all the time, but oftentimes, and I can catch when this is happening because I know the mindset that I'm in when I'm creating. And I wanna preface this and kinda, like, rebalance that by saying that I have so many clients that I'm so grateful for. Honestly, like, 9 out of 10 clients are absolutely incredible. But there is kind of that, like, 1% of people, and I think this is probably with any, I mean, it's inevitable with any, like, service job. So, you know, don't think that I'm getting too woo-woo about this, but there is a little woo-woo underneath this. I think with any service job where you're servicing the general public, you're going to get kind of that, like, 1% that's sort of, like, never friggin' satisfied with anything with you. But I also think that in that same vein is that self-realization piece where I'm like, A, I can't control everybody around me. You never will be able to. And if you do, you're going to drive yourself absolutely insane. And B, the general public, as I said, when you're serving them, there is always a 1% that's just never going to be happy. I mean, that's life. Like I said, you're not for everybody. Everybody's not for you. Sometimes you accidentally stumble yourself upon each other in each other's presence and you realize you're not for each other, and that's okay. But I think part of it too, the self awareness piece, is that third piece, is that I think that those people are also there to mirror back to me, that 1% to me, where I don't feel like I'm enough. I truly, truly believe that. They're there for a lesson. They come into your life, they stumble into your life for a lesson to mirror back to you what you need to heal about yourself. And this for me is a childhood wound that I've found. And this can be a whole other episode, I think, but my suffice it to say that when you're on your healing journey, and I think, like I said, the loss kind of catapulted me into this, like, deeply, deeply internal state, the more layers you kind of peel back, the more you realize these things, the more you try to heal your subconscious because you start realizing that that external, the things that are happening not to you, but for you, are meant to try to help you heal. Everything that happens in your life is meant to try to help you heal. I've really realized that, and that's that perspective piece too. It's like, not why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? Because the universe wants you to win. Other people want you to win. I mean, we inherently want others to win, even though, like I said, on the outside and at face value, we're kind of wired in our society in 2026 to look for the bad first. But deep down, we want each other all to win because when other people win, you also win. When other people are in their passion, you get things like self-driving cars, AI, but not like you have to be an inventor for something, but like your passion is meant to be here to trigger something, but you can only uncover all these things and you can only show up genuinely for other people when you start to peel back those layers of yourself and you start to heal every single piece of yourself. I hear it often too, where they say it's kind of like a metaphor where, when you're on an airplane and you're listening to the safety announcements and they say, put on your oxygen mask before you put it on others. And you think about, like, oh my gosh, but if I have a baby with me, I want to put on the baby first. Well, you can't put on the baby first if you can't help yourself first. How are you going to help that baby if you're losing oxygen as well? You need to make sure that you're in such a good state that you can help others because then if you help others first, in the situation of the plane, both of you are passing out at the same time because you don't have enough life force to then sustain their life force. So sustain your life force first, peel back those layers, give yourself the gift of brutally honest self awareness so that you can heal those beautiful parts of you that need healing, those parts from your childhood that need to be told a different story, that need to be told that they were okay, that they were enough, that their passion is worthy, that it's gonna make a difference, that it matters, that it's not just a hobby, that it's not just this or that, or you need to do this and you need to do that. Focus on you. That's the whole point of this. Focus on you. Life is so short. Do it today. You don't need to do it all, but take steps in the direction, tiny little steps in the direction that you wanna go towards the life that you want to be living, towards the person that you want to be, and make sure that you're not just jumping into that person you want to be without healing who you are first at the core. And like I said, the more that you heal, the more that you continue to find other layers of yourself to heal, the more that you then start to show up. Each layer that you heal, you start to show up for other people a little bit better in just a little way, a little more. You heal your first layer, you show up better for people in that way. Then that first layer, after healing that, you see a second layer that you can heal and uncover something bigger, deeper, greater for somebody else. You're healing that part of you and you're becoming even better for somebody else. Even better, even better. And it's this ripple effect that you start to do for yourself because you deserve it. You deserve to be so happy. You deserve to be so successful. You deserve to make the most impact, to really see how beautiful this world and this life can actually be for you. The world is meant for you to have the most beautiful life, the most beautiful version of your life. And when you live in your most beautiful life, in your most healed state, you do that for others too. And one of the greatest laws or gifts that this world has is the law of reciprocity, of giving, 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 and then receiving. And it's this beautiful thing that kind of, I think that's how we connect with others on a greater level. All right. I need to go into Target and finish my errands. But wow, wow, wow. Okay, that came out of me. I hope that made sense. Um, I hope I didn't just ramble. I'm gonna throw this podcast up, I think without editing it. I hope the audio was okay. The audio went out halfway through recording this because I think my phone disconnected from my car. So I hope that this A, recording went through, B, that the audio doesn't suck, and then see that this resonated with you. I'm gonna try to keep it in its most raw form as possible because I think it's gonna land for somebody out there just because of how compelled I felt to just, like, sit and record this. So, anyways, thank you for letting me ramble, coming to my TED Talk. I'm so excited to share more about my healing journey with you guys. I have so many other episode ideas that kinda came to me along this short little 10-minute drive that I had. So, I can't wait to record more. I hope you guys like the cadence of the podcast. I know there's a lot of people out there that put out, 1 to 2 podcasts a week. I apologize to anybody, but I'm not that person. Maybe some weeks I'll have, or maybe some months I'll have a podcast every week. Maybe some months I'll have 2 podcasts every week, and maybe some months I'll have 1 or 2 podcasts a month. So, I kind of just, like, my whole persona is not one of output as much as I wish it would be or could be. That's another part of myself that I've accepted, but I create podcasts as they genuinely come to me, as I genuinely want to share things. So that's kind of the space that I'm creating from. I don't wanna, like, force anything. I wanna give myself grace. I want everything to feel as natural as possible and as genuine as possible for everyone around me. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys again in the next one. Thank you again for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.